Hello, this is Brian Hegney, instructor of game design here at High Point University. If you're watching this, you are likely about to learn how to create an automatically opening door using Unreal Engine's blueprints. So let's go ahead and get to that right here. I have just started a first-person shooter template. I have done nothing to it. You'll see if I push play. I got my little thing here going on. Now, what I want to do is make a door in this level. And I am assuming that you have already understood how to install Unreal Engine, you already know how to open up a new project, and you know how to create the templates. So the first thing I'm going to do is I like to click this little thing here, and this is the Show or Hide Sources panel. This is basically looking at a hierarchical display of your content browser. And it's helpful for me. I don't know why they hide it to begin with, but they do. I'm going to go into the content folder. I'm going to go ahead and make my own blueprint folder. I like to do that. I know it says first person blueprint. There are blueprints in that first person blueprint. I am going to just create a blueprints folder by going into the content, saying new folder. I'm going to just call it well, I do BCH blueprints because that's my initials, BCH, Brian Charles Hegney, and I'm going to go into here, and this is where I'm going to create my first blueprint. As you likely already know, blueprints are Unreal Engine's visual scripting components. These are going to be used throughout the game. And if I create one door blueprint, I'm likely going to be using it all over the place. But if I have like 20 doors in my level, whoops, they're likely, if they're all the same door, if there doesn't need to be anything different other than when I walk up to it, it opens, I only need one main blueprint door. Almost like a parent class. So can do this two ways. I can click the really big, beautiful green button, add new in the content browser on the top left, and go to blueprint class. It's exactly the same thing. If I right click in my BCH blueprints folder, go up to blueprints class, and I'm going to go ahead and create an actor blueprint. As you go through many years of Unreal Engine development, you will learn all of these. I'm going to go ahead and create just an actor blueprint. All right, and I'm going to call this BH door. I'm going to suggest you guys use your initials. If you're watching this and you're expected to turn in an assignment to me, it's going to be so much helpful. BH door, you know what? I might actually name this BH door underscore BP for blueprint, and I spelled that incorrectly. There, BH door underscore BP. Now, right now, this is what I would have called an empty back in my day. It is, back in my day of 3D modeling, we used to call empties, which is really just a reference. This is just an empty kind of thing. There is a sphere there only to visually represent, you know, what's going on. There's really not a sphere in there. In fact, if I were to tap G on my keyboard to go into game view mode, I don't see anything, and G is a good key to learn in Unreal Engine anyway. It allows you to see what things are going to look like in the game. So right now, there is a BH door underscore BP blueprint in my scene. It's right here. You'll notice when I click on it in my scene, in my viewport, I can see BH door BP. Now I'm going to drag in a second one of those. You can feel free to follow along as well. And I can even drag in a third one. And I'm doing that just to show you something in a little bit. It might be fun for you to see this. All right, there's my 3 BP doors. But there's nothing there, and if I play, like, I don't even know where they are. And I can't see them because there's nothing in them. Okay, hit escape. I'm going to double click this BH door underscore BP just to open it up. And I'm going to kind of look at what's going on here. This is a blueprint. And it did take me a while to understand what they meant by blueprints. Basically, these are... this is where all of your functioning happens. So if you have a door that opens or closes, or if you have a platform that rises, you are going to have like a door in here, and then all of the script that makes it open is going to be in here. In this particular blueprint, there's 3 main viewports in the center here that you want to get to know. There's the viewport here, which shows you a visual representation of your blueprint. This construction script is a series of code that happens the moment it births or spawns into the world, and then it never runs this function again, or this script again. So it happens once, and then the event graph, this tab here, is where everything happens. This is where all of the functioning, all of the programming kind of happens. And we're going to dip into that a little bit, not in this video, but in future videos. Let's go back to the viewport. Over here on the left, you'll see you've got components. There's this components tab. And right now, it's just bhdoor_bp self. That's the root of the object, or that's the name of the object, and that consists of a scene root, and that's what this thing is. It is not a real thing, it is just a representation, again, as I said. So what I want to do is, let's just say I'm going to add a component, and I'm going to go down to add a cube. Okay, that's nice. The moment I add a cube, now I'm going to zoom out using my middle mouse button to scroll in and out. I can see I've added a cube. Now over on the right, you'll see another very important little window, and it's called the details window. This particular cube has all sorts of properties. It has an X, Y, and a Z. And a little note, if you want to change the X, Y, and Z of the cube, you can obviously move this little move gizmo in the viewport, right? And as I do that, it updates over here in the details panel on the right under location. So I can either change that by clicking in there and typing, or I can left click and drag these values left and right. And you'll notice that little sphere is still there. It still has a scene root. It still wants you to know where that is. I'm going to set this at 0, 0, 0. And I'm going to be able to set these as static, stationary, or movable. And this all allows, if you're going to have a static cube that never moves, you'll want the engine to not spend too many resources on it. And like the moment you make something movable or not static, like it just devotes a little bit more energy and power to it. So hold on, I want to see that. There we go. I'm gonna try to see, okay, this mesh, right? So I added this cube. Well, guess what? This cube in Unreal Engine, this isn't in all engines, but in Unreal Engine, it's really a static mesh component that references a static mesh, right? So I did drag this in as a cube. Well, let's say I named this door. If I name that door, it actually doesn't have to reference the cube. I can have it reference anything I want. Right now it's referencing the first person projectile mesh. I could have it reference a floor. Well, that's a big floor. I could have it reference a 1 meter cube or 1 meter cube chamfer. Oh, that's prettier. There, I might have it reference that. So again, you can change the static mesh, and you can always change the material. Like, let's say I want to make it gold. Gold is beautiful. I think we're going to stick with gold, or the first-person projectile material. There's all sorts of physics things like simulate physics. Well, I don't want this to simulate physics because right now I'm going to keep it, pretend like there's no gravity. I might want this just hovering in midair. So sometimes you want physics and sometimes you don't. If you turned on physics, you could deal with damping and mass and things like that. Collision, I'm not going to get there yet. I'm not going to get with all of these. I'm just going to add this, and I'm going to compile it. And this usually gives you trouble once you start programming or adding scripts in the event graph. If you do things wrong, it will tell you. And then, of course, I want to save it. Now, here's the cool thing. Watch what happens when oh, well, I'm going to X this out, yeah. All right, now I'm going to look around my scene, and guess what you should see? Yes, you should see 3 gold cubes. All 3 of these blueprints were blueprints I dragged into my scene. And because they are all instances of this one parent class, called bhdoor_bp. They all get the same treatment. Now, what I'm going to do here is just drag these upwards a little bit, and I'm going to hit the home button. Nope, I'm sorry, the end button. And, oh, they're already dropped to 0. Yeah. That's just something that happens. And my question is to you, as you're watching at home, I want the cube to sit on its bottom, but when I hit the end button to drop it down to 0, 0, or to 0, it doesn't. And the answer, let's see if you can figure it out. In the meantime, I'm going to open up my bhdoor_bp, and I'm going to go to my viewport. And I'm going to look at this and notice that the box I dragged into my scene kind of sits down. And I can see that better if I change the perspective button in the top left corner of my viewport to the left button. And you can see, okay, this box kind of sits down in the middle. I'm just going to drag it up using the move tool. And if you don't see the move tool, you might have accidentally hit W, E, or R. Right now, put your hands on the W, E, R. Yes, W stands for move, E stands for rotate, and R stands for reposition, or rescale, sorry. So WER toggles. Okay, I'm just going to go back to my perspective. Now, I'm pretty good with understanding stuff in 3D space. You might not be, so you might need to go back to your left scene, make sure it's in the center, but guess what? What if your front? Okay, it's in the center as well. See, it's possible that in the front, this could be here, not at 0, 0, 0. You wouldn't notice that if you were in the left viewport. So there's 3 dimensions, and that means you have to be very certain where your object is in 3D space. That's not what this class is totally about, though, but it will come into play. Once I change that, and I'm going to compile it and save it, look at, oh, all of my cubes are sitting nicely on the thing. Okay, so here's some fun. I don't know, you want to end on a fun note, because time is finishing. Now, you'll notice if I shoot things, they're not moving. Well, why does that one move if the other ones don't? And I'm going to show you that in the next couple minutes. And it's in the blueprint. If I double-click this, I could click this Simulate Physics button here. It's going to have a mass in kilograms. I'm just going to accept the default. I'm going to compile and save it. Come here, play that, and now, boom, boom, there they go. Now, the fun thing is, though, you don't have to do that in that main parent class. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to go back to my blueprint. I'm actually going to uncheck that. I'm going to uncheck that. And again, if you don't see all this, it's because maybe you have the default scene route selected by accident, which isn't selecting what I just called the door. I'm going to compile and save this because I selected the door in my components window and unchecked Simulate Physics because I want to show you what we can do. We can actually select individual ones in our scene. Like, let's say I had 100 doors. Well, some of them I'm going to, when I click this box in my scene, I'm not clicking that box, I'm clicking the blueprint. And when I click the blueprint over here in the details panel, I can individually select all the different components in that blueprint. Right now it's just a root and the door, but I can click this door, come down, and tell just this one here to simulate physics. And once I do that, the only one that moves is the one I clicked on to do simulate physics. The reason why you might do that, well, let's say I want to select the middle one and simulate physics. Whoops, got to select the door in the blueprint, simulate physics, and I'm actually going to override this. I'm going to give it like 1,000 kilograms. And so when I play that, well, different objects can get different masses. And that's an introduction to blueprints. I am going to click Save All, and I'm going to do that and save content. And I will see you in the next video.